Okay, let me get a little closer to this mic here. I am going to do this presentation. This is on the viability of ROBOTAXI financially versus the Waymo. And I did some analysis here, and here we go. Let's first start off with the emerging trends, demographic trends. Where are all the young car buyers, the 18 to 34, which I believe is ROBOTAXI's target demographic, continues free fall as far as ownership, car ownership. This is from Dealer GM News. You see the credit up in the corner there. I want to give them credit. June 17, 25. So this is recent. Undergoing a generational shift, okay? Young buyers 18 to 34, their ownership and buying new cars is over. According to S&P Mobility, share of new vehicle registrations have dropped from 12% of new car sales in 2021 to under 10% in 2025. Ouch. So what is that? 3% year over year or period over period decline. Adults age 55 and over now account for nearly half of all new registrations, up from 45% in 2021, and holding the largest share for the last 2 years running. So you got like a 5% increase in 55 and older's buying cars, and you got like a 3% decrease of 18 to 34s. So I think the age 55 and over is probably the demographic that is least likely to use a ROBOTAXI, right? Anyway, you got this trend. The trend is your friend. Young car ownership is over. Affordability has become a major barrier for younger consumers. Rising price, everything's $100,000, beyond the reach of many of in the 18 to 34 age bracket. And this is so true. How can it be any truer? Over the past 4 years, average monthly car payments have skyrocketed by 30%. As has the cost of everything else. Everybody went in this predatory pricing during COVID, profit pricing. Now nobody wants to take a haircut. These car companies, these ICE manufacturers would rather go out of business than take a haircut on revenues and maintain market share, or, same thing with these restaurant owners, and everybody else. I mean, everyone is pricing themselves out of business. So anyway, car payments have skyrocketed by 30% in 4 years. That's like 8% a year or whatever. With nearly 20% of new purchases now, 20% of new purchases now requiring payments exceeding $1,000 a month. That is after-tax income. That's like $1,300 a month pre-tax income. That is a lot of money. That's like $13,000, more than 13, more like, $15,000, $16,000 of gross income for a car payment. Oh. Beyond financial challenges, there's been a cultural shift in how young people view car ownership. It was considered a rite of passage. Today's young adults are less tied to the idea of owning a car. And now they mention here subscription services and car sharing platforms. I don't really see this. However, subscription services are something that the ROBOTAXI might be able to do very well with, especially if they have a family plan or something. Anyway, these flexible solutions allow access to vehicles without the long-term financial commitment of owning. Insurance also has gone up 30% in the last year, car insurance, even for basic coverage and maintaining a car. At least in my metro area, it has, the insurance rates. For many, convenience and cost-effectiveness of these alternatives outweigh the perceived benefits of traditional ownership. I mean, we're moving towards a bifurcated economy in a lot of ways. Half the people are going to own houses, half are not. Half are going to own cars, half are not. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in the economy, but in any case, these trends all look favorably towards a low-cost alternative to car ownership. And, we don't have... let's move on to the next slide here. Now, I prepared this chart. This is back of the napkin. This is not GAAP, General Accepted Accounting Principles. This is ham-fisted, but I think very telling. I have down here Uber versus ROBOTAXI versus owning. I didn't include Waymo. Waymo, listen, the fixed costs on AIM, here's the thing. A Waymo compared to a Model 3, they're saying now it's 3 times, okay, the cost to make one with all the gadgets and everything. Previously it was 5 times. So the cost they have sunk in producing these vehicles is so high, the Jaguars they're using now, and I'm sure anything else they use with the large suite of sensors on it, it just does not compare. And I mean, they're subsidized by Google, which has deep pockets and so on and so forth. But as far as it being financially viable, I do not believe they're releasing that information, and I don't believe that it is. And I don't know that it can be under that present system. Plus, they don't even mention, I watched Waymo come into operation in the area, the metro area I live in. What they don't tell you is they drove those cars around for months with drivers in them, and they still do. So Tesla is not, to my knowledge, doing this, but my goodness, they drove the Waymos around the fenced-in area they're operating where I live in 6 months. And the other day, I saw a driver. I said, oh, there's a Waymo. Let's see if it can make this roundabout. Then I go, wow, watch it run into the curb. And then I looked, there was a driver behind the wheel. So there's all kind of costs that aren't coming out in the whole Waymo deal. But anyway, let's just go through these figures. And again, this is ham-fisted. This is not GAAP, but it gives you an idea. So let me just go through what we got. We got average weekly trips. And I have down here, there's like 30 trips a week, going to work and going out or going to the store, 120 trips a month. I think that's fair. Cost per trip. The Uber average, and this is today's stats, and this is the low end, is $24. It's $24 to $40. So let's say $24. So to do monthly, that's $720 a month to take 120 trips using an Uber. Now, if you own the car, and this is a used car, no car payment, forget about it with the car payment. It blows everything up to the point of its ridiculousness. This is $400. I think this is fair. Insurance, gas, maintenance, parking. I think this is totally fair in a metro area. When you go to work, you're going to have to pay for parking, so forth. I think $400 monthly. When you go to get a car serviced, a nice car in a major metro area, it don't matter what's wrong with it. They're going to charge you $500. A lot of places will charge you $500 to look at it, and then if they're nice, they'll deduct that from the cost of the repairs, which always exceed $500. So anyway, we got $720 Uber, $400 if you own it. ROBOTAXI at $420 per ride, which is what they're charging, is $540 monthly to take 120 trips. So that compares to ownership. Not bad. It's $100 off. I think people might pay $100 off, $100 more, to not have to have the headache, or if they can't find a car they can afford or whatever. I mean, Or if, they want to go away with the car, they say it's going to cost me $100 more. $100 is something, I think most people can swing. So I think it's competitive with the ownership, and it's certainly competitive with Uber. Now, here we got the cost per trip, and I broke this down. $24 for Uber, $3.33 for ownership, $4.20. That's with ROBOTAXI, that's 570% less than Uber. Wow. Okay, that's a metric. So, based on the 25-minute average ride, you can get 2.4 rides per hour out of a ROBOTAXI or a Uber or whatever. That's $58 Uber income. If you're paying yourself, it's $670. With ROBOTAXI, you got $840. So there you go. That's quite a bit less income. The shift, 8-hour shift income. If you're hitting the airport and you're working all the time, $464 in Uber. That is a lot of income. You'll see the expenses are higher, but and you got a human driver in there, and whatever that entails cost-wise, I am not sure. There's different rules in different states now, but let's just stick with $464 is the income. In ROBOTAXI, you got $67.20. So one car makes $70 in 8 hours. Okay? So what's it making? $10 an hour, whatever. So, whatever. If you're running 2 shifts, that's $150 per car. Something like that. Okay, per shift. And they got 10 shifts running. You can do the math. But anyway, you can see it's quite a bit lower. However, when you get into operating costs for 8 hours using an ICE vehicle, the gas, and it depends where you live, cost and everything is about $71. And if you're owning a car, it's going to be the same. Now, this is the advantage, the ROBOTAXI, and I'm sure the purpose-built ROBOTAXI is even going to get better electric mileage than this, but $8 charge, depending on where you're at and so on, but an $8 charge for 8 hours of runtime. That is 11% of the cost of the Uber $71 cost of gas. 11%. Now you see why all those Uber drivers were renting the Teslas. 11%. So it's 90% cheaper to run an electric car as a ROBOTAXI than a gas car. Okay? Now here's a gross profit. Again, back of the napkin. So Uber makes $400, $393. You lose whatever, $89. Costs you $89 for a week, whatever. Here's the thing, the 8-hour shift. Here's the thing. ROBOTAXI, even at $4.20, okay, they're making $60 for 8-hour shift. So they actually, and again, you got depreciation and costs and, all that stuff. But if you're using cars that are already on the network pre-owned by other people, you ain't got any of those costs. Okay? So you can make $60 for an 8-hour shift. So the point here is, in my mind, these aren't astronomical numbers, but if this vehicle can be profitable at this level against the main competitor, and certainly against Waymo, in my opinion, I mean, even though it's a small profit, with scale, with complete automation, and then when you move into building the purpose-built ROBOTAXI, and the more it's going to be even more efficient, And the cost of it's going to be lower because, I do believe they're going to employ Optimus, at least in part of that building of that vehicle. But the point is, even from day one, at the low cost of $4.20, Tesla has got, they're making money, some money. You can argue, is this money, is this not money? But, so the business model, you could tweak this however you want to tweak it. And this could be a worldwide deployment. I think Tesla has, 3 million cars out now? Plus what they're going to build with the ROBOTAXI. If you get, 1 million cars making $60 an hour, how much is that? I don't know. That's what is that, 600 million? Whatever. It's a very big number. And I think the rollout is doing great. People don't realize the complexity involved here. I think, the press, you can't listen to the press. I mean, you got to take your news from Tesla. And I see the Waymos have the same, pick up and drop off issues as the Tesla. That's something that has to be ironed out. And, I have seen the Waymos swerve a lot, and they have ghost drivers with like Xbox-like controllers. But anyway, the point is, I think it works. It works. It works with the hardware. The system's working, and even at $420, it makes it competitive with owning. Say, I'm going to buy a used car. Why buy a used car? I can just, pay Tesla, and I'll have that as long as it's available and reliable, right? So, and I think a lot of people will say, hey, why am I going to sink this money into this car when I can just do this? And, I'm sure there'll be ways to write this off as well. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that, even at $420, according to my math, hey, show me where I'm wrong in the comments. I hurt my brain doing this. I just can't do math anymore, but I used to be able to do math. Anyway, the point is, they're making $59.20 an 8-hour shift with a ride fee of $4.20. It's 570% cheaper than Uber, and they're making money doing it. So that is pretty hard to argue with. Like that, Anno Domino Beats is the music. I think it's great. Look that up. This is copyright-free music from the YouTube library. And there's the ROBOTAXI. I think we got a hit on our hands. I don't see how... it's going to be pretty hard. Keep your fingers... Knock on wood. And keep your fingers crossed. Once they start rolling this baby out, even if they're just charging $4.20, this is going to just be... They're going to need semi-trucks to, carry all the cash to the bank. Okay, I think this is going to be a big change in automobile ownership and transportation. Okay, this is MXUX. I hope you liked the video. Hey, if you don't agree, comment. Yeah, let me know. Tell me what you think.